news and broadcast to the world more good news. We deliver messages of creativity, humor, dreams, visions, solutions to today's most pressing problems. We provide a global platform to connect people helping people, inspiring them to give back to their community.
Why I know that.
Awesome. And welcome to We Are the Remedy. And my name is Trevor Henley, and I'm the inspirational activist and founder of Desire to Inspire Studios. We have with us Michael Pritchard.
Morning.
And Stephanie Plante.
Morning.
Good morning. And you are from CPI Developers.
I am.
And we feel that you embody the idea of people helping people.
Right, exactly
And
right.
You flatter me, that's nice.
No, but it's true.
It
I'm
is
honored.
true.
Thank you.
It's true.
Flattery by truth, right?
Yes, exactly.
Right. So one of the things I know you through the chamber. We've got connected in many ways, and then also all the work that you do with nonprofits and giving back to the community. And I know you sponsor and work with Downtown Streets Team, which is close to my heart, and they clean our space. So what we'd like to do is just explore a conversation about why would someone do something like that?
Let me see if I can give you not too long of an answer,
Yeah.
but my grandfather...
Take as long as you want.
Okay, so you don't have to do any work. My grandfather started a business in San Rafael in 1967, and it was the dump at the end of Shoreline Parkway. And
Yep.
you drove your truck out there and
Right.
dropped your junk.
Right.
Only inert material.
I still do that, by the way.
supposed to do that.
No, I'm kidding.
Come on.
But you know, he born and raised in San Francisco without a high school education, had some vision to acquire a business. Someone else put the dike in the bay. We probably would never do that again.
Right.
Acquire a business whereby they were able to fill that land, make money doing it, and enough money, frankly, to create developable space that they could turn into something
Right.
that is creating jobs, generating sales tax dollars for the
Right.
city of San Rafael, and frankly improving on what was a brownfield. And it was inert material, so it's developable land. I was honored to be able to frankly come to work as the third generation in our family business. My
Wow.
mother worked with him before I did.
Right.
Unfortunately died of cancer quite young at 53 in the late 90s. So I was 29 and my grandpa was 79 when I started. He didn't know how to turn on the computer.
Wow.
Could you help me for a little while? And we got 15 years together until he was 94.
Wow.
And in that time, I learned a lot from him about being grateful, about putting down your roots and leaving a legacy. And
That was that generation, wasn't it?
very much so, very much so. And I think they broke the mold
Yep.
when they made some folks from that generation.
Right.
And I'm fortunate to be able to run a business in the community where I grew up. And frankly, he built the successful foundation, and I always feel like I haven't messed it up yet.
No.
And so
You've enhanced it.
we were grateful enough to receive a lot of community support in some of those development projects.
Right.
With Target, they became fairly controversial. I feel like it's my honor and my duty to give back.
Right.
Everything from standing up for other people who
Good.
want to make and
Right.
do developments in this town, which frankly keep the town going,
Right.
to reaching out to support groups that I really believe in. The Streets Team is certainly one. We definitely have some struggles with homeless folks living out behind our
Right, of course.
property. There's vacant land there.
Right.
But why kick the can down the road when you could support a group that's supporting getting people off the streets through the dignity of work? I love that.
Wisdom.
I love that message.
Wisdom. Yeah.
I've also been really fortunate to participate in a relatively new program that my dear friend Rob DiVincenzi at the Marin IJ started, Giving Marin.
Good man.
In our second year, the inaugural year was last year. I think there were 10 or 12 businesses he invited to participate, make a contribution to underwrite advertising for nonprofits in the newspaper.
Yep.
And that number of groups that has advertised has grown from, we had 20 or 30 groups giving us ads. We've had 200 to 300 now.
Right.
We also gave away 6 grants, six $10,000 grants last
Wow.
year. in
That's
December.
awesome.
Good for you guys. That's amazing.
And we expected 30 or 40 applications, and we had 130.
Wow.
And Marin has
The
really
needs.
kind of two really distinct levels of income
Yes.
and a missing
Well
middle.
put. Yes, well put. Yeah. That's the way to identify both worlds. But how do we bridge?
And that's what we're
That's
trying
what
to
you're
do.
doing. Right.
That's really what we're
Good
trying
for
to
you.
do.
Yeah.
And there's so many people trying to do so much good with all these
Right.
different nonprofits.
Why is it so important to do that? You're a brilliant person. You understand. Look, you understand. With wealth and wisdom comes obligation.
Well, and I was just fortunate enough to be born to
Yeah.
a family where there happened to be a scrappy old Italian guy.
Yeah, exactly.
who,
Right.
You
Yes.
know, he would say
Yes.
it's better to be lucky than good.
Yeah.
And he built a life on
So
that,
great.
I had a lot of longevity. He would say I outlived some of my mortgages. I made some good decisions. I learned from the bad ones.
What a great line.
But I'm not entitled to what he built. So I feel
again, wisdom.
I'm honored to be shepherding it forwards and hopefully do something for my kids, but
A brilliant
for
line.
many kids.
Shepherding it forward. Here's when Katie Couric asked a great historian by the name of he wrote, Stephen Ambrose wrote, he was a very professorial historian. She says, what was it about that World War II generation and what the immigrants and all those who fought in World War II and lived in World War II and lived through World War II? What was it, that one thing that you can think of? And without any hesitation, he said what your father embodied, lived, and was: modesty. They were a humble generation. They served, they sacrificed, they gave, they uplifted because they valued and appreciated freedom. And that can be a global thing, teaching the global economy through the Chamber of Commerce and everything else. The attitude of gratitude in this latitude, right? And that's, what was it that you think your grandfather imbued in you? What do you think you learned most from him about serving? And your father and the rest of the family, what did you learn about how they practice this entrepreneurial but also community unity?
I mean, you touched on it with modesty, and just to give credit where credit is due, he's my maternal grandfather.
Okay.
My dad was a pretty good guy.
No,
but
I got it.
My mom and my grandfather.
Grandfather's grandfather.
Right. I do think that the message about a little bit of luck. Everybody needs a little bit of luck.
You bet. Right. Yeah.
And I believe.
Buona fortuna.
I believe in modesty, and I really believe that no one is entitled to anything.
Right. Good for you.
I try really hard. We
Wisdom.
have 2 children at home, my husband and I, and they're 11 and 15. And raising kids in Marin County is complicated.
The land of inflamed entitleitis at
And
times.
I love my neighbor and my friends. And,
Me too.
We've all been lucky to grow up here, but it's a real dance.
Yeah. Oh, what a. You should be a great artist because you dance. That dance is the dance painted for everybody to understand. It is a dance, isn't it?
Our daughter, she's 15. She's a freshman in high school. She said to me the other day, "Mom, I think your motto is it's a privilege, not a right." That's what you say to me all
Exactly.
the time. And I was like, "Oh, good, you're listening."
Right. Yes.
You're listening.
Yes, they hear you.
Right.
They do hear you.
It is a
It's like
privilege.
you talk about the cell phone, or
Right.
she's on the cusp of getting a permit to drive a car. Well, I said to her the other day, it's a license to drive a car. It's not a license to own a car.
Wow. Good. Good.
You might
That's
wanna
wisdom.
Get a job.
Practical. This is what's neat. Practical wisdom. Practical wisdom for all of them, because the more you teach them perspective. In fact, yesterday I spoke at the Godmothers and I told them, I don't know if I had said this before, but I had a mom sitting and not paying attention. She was on her cell phone, and the 5-year-old goes, "Mom, you spend more time staring into that screen than you do to baby Patrick's eyes." And she burst into tears and put the phone away. And this is the practical wisdom that a 5-year-old can teach us. I'm here. We all need this. We need to see people. We need to see our kids, and we need to know that even when they're in the petri dish of privilege, raising them to be common, grounded, practical human beings is so important. That's why, our show is called The Remedy, because we want to teach them to be the medicine for a better world, right?
Well, you just gave me one of those aha moments.
Yeah.
Quote Oprah, but we talked about the streets team and my, maybe what I've taken away from my grandpa, and then when we talked about my daughter, it's work. It's work. It's the dignity of work, and it doesn't matter if you're homeless or wealthy or where you start, but it's work, and there is dignity in work and pride, and then the things that you're able to have, you've earned them.
Yes.
Whether you're volunteering, she was fortunate enough to have a couple summers of interning with the San Rafael Pacifics, and she didn't make any money.
Right.
But
she learned, right?
And she's 15 years old, and now all of a sudden she has an opportunity to teach some swim lessons, and she has work experience on a resume already, and it pays.
Yes. I once at a place I work and help run fundraisers called Job Train, Stephanie, and it's in San Mateo and Santa Clara, and one of the fellows stood up who was a parolee, and he said, self-esteem is a job that pays you your human worth. Self-esteem is a job where you work that pays you your human worth. And that's all of us are searching for. There's a new book out, I hope you get a chance, by David Brooks, and he said, America will lie to you. It's called Second Mountain. And he said, if you have money, you'll be happy. If you have wealth and privilege, you'll be happy. He goes, those are lies. But he said, what it is what you have and you have learned. And that is, the second mountain is relationships. Relationships. Loving relationships. He said, I learned more from a family who adopted a bunch of kids, foster care kids, and he goes, I went over to shake hands. This is a very conservative guy who works for the New York Times as a columnist, and he's also as well a very brilliant commentator on PBS, and he said, I went over to this home, and I walked in, and they have 1 million kids, and I walked in, and I stuck my hand out, and the kid goes, yeah, here we don't shake hands. We hug.
Oh, nice.
Right? And that's family. Yeah. That's what teaches you. All my life, you hug the kids, and a lot of the kids at St. Vincent's where I work, all they need is a little affection, love, connection, protection, and encouragement. And they're on their way, having, folks in the community like you who will help the streets team. And I think that's remarkable. Why do you think it's so important to teach other folks in business this important lesson of life, this heart wisdom that it's important? And what do you say to the cynical or the sarcastic person that goes, we do too much already. We don't want all that down there. This is too much to endure. You're only encouraging and you're inviting more of this. And what do you say to them, Stephanie? Because you live heart. And you live wisdom. So what do you say to those folks in chamber and outside in the economic viability of helping bless the immigrant, bless the homeless, bless folks who are coming in just looking for an opportunity? What do you say to them?
Thank you for your kind words. I think collaboration is really important, and it's so easy in business to keep your nose down. Look at the bottom line, look at the spreadsheet, look at the budget. But I just came from a meeting at City Hall where we, as representatives of the San Rafael Chamber, meet once a month. We have the mayor, one other council person, the city manager, a few other department heads, and we collaborate about what the public sector and what the private sector are doing and how we can work together. And we heard from one particular business owner who's really interested in pursuing a partnership to provide housing for their employees. Right. So even though they pay a living wage,
so needed.
Even with a living wage, those employees can't afford to live in Marin County. And how they are bringing to the table representatives from Habitat for Humanity, from the city, from the private sector, to try to create a partnership where you're reaching into group from the Canal Alliance, where you're reaching into all different sectors to I think remember that, all human beings have value.
Yes.
Right.
And it's not just now. It's not just this generation, right? It's the next generation.
Right.
What are we leaving our kids with?
I'm blessed to call you neighbor.
Oh, I feel the same about you.
Thanks.
And you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have a little one, I know. Yours are getting kind of big. But
Yeah, one of them's a chief resident in the hospital up in Brooklyn Memorial, and he sees the level. And having been raised in privilege, one of my favorite moments, he was helping heal somebody in Nicaragua one time, and he said, I'm taking care of somebody, I got a little emotional pop, and he said, and then I was sitting thinking to myself, I used to be a friend with a girl who was angry because her $400 sunglasses weren't ready on time. And I said, it's important for him to have gone through that journey, to realize that there's privilege all around you. And this isn't to mean that young person can't have grown since he was with her, but just to acknowledge the fact that, yes, we have this, but it's important to give back in that way that we can, helping heal people and be in the medicine for a better world as a doctor, as a teacher, as an entrepreneur, as an inventor of an incredible studio that inspires and uplifts people. I mean, he was a young man at Santa Fe High, where you went, and I met him. Go Bulldogs. So all of a sudden, his wisdom when he was a kid, flabbergasted my crew. They were like, these kids are smart. Yeah. And the way I felt about it was that there were poor kids and very wealthy kids mixed together. And their hearts got past the walls and boundaries. And they bridged that to wisdom that took, a few years ago, 13 young students to Berkeley out of Santa Fe High. That's no high school in America has that many Berkeley kids getting admitted, and it comes from the inherent wisdom of heart connected to brain and studies.
that's where I went out of Santa Fe High, too.
Right.
We had a good bunch of us go there from Santa Fe High then, too.
And it shows in everything that you have learned and accomplished and done. You are a gift to the community. But it's true.
Well, Santa Fe High School's an interesting place because even 30 years ago when I graduated from there, we had 20-something, 22, 27 languages spoken in
Right.
Santa Fe
Yes,
High.
exactly.
Some Asian languages, obviously
Yeah.
Spanish.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's, I think, persisted. And
Yes.
even though Marin County is low in the diversity
Right.
arena, that high school is a pretty great cross section.
And I think when I was there, it was like 60% was all different races, and it was about 35% white.
Right.
Right.
And so, and obviously the math doesn't add up, but
But it does.
That
it
probably
does.
wasn't your best
But it
subject.
was. I'm a photographer, but there was some
You're the best.
and then there was another stat which
Right.
doesn't make sense. But anyway, but remember it teaching me all about this is what the real world was.
Yeah.
And it wasn't what Marin County was. It was what the real world as a bigger picture was, because we aren't the majority of race, and you go anywhere in the world and it's everybody.
Right,
And so it
exactly.
gave us real world experiences.
There was a teacher there named Jesse, and he spoke at the Canal Community Alliance one day, and I said, we can only give like a minute, and he goes, oh, can I do this in a minute? And he goes, we don't need leaders in America to show us the cold frozen mountain that they exist from looking down at us. We need leaders who can help guide us up the mountain to be able to help others and show the pathway up and be those leaders who guide us on the pathways of the mountain. And then he came up in the crowds cheering. I go, oh yeah, oh you can do it in a minute. And he did. And that was having that kind of teacher from Central America with the kids and teaching it to everybody, because we're a nation of immigrants. A nation of immigrants. I'm the son of Irish immigrants and Italian immigrants, and I think that if we, all my family are intermarried, we're a global family because my kids are married to. My kids married, and the foster care kids that we took, and everybody's married to everybody. And so it's called, ironically, California. And in specific, San Rafael,
Well, we've
California.
been working in East
Yeah.
San Rafael.
Yeah.
Together with the Chamber, I started another committee called the East San Rafael Working Group. We identified that East San Rafael businesses are generating more than 60% of all the sales tax dollars in this city.
Oh, wow.
We also happen to be home to more
It's a
than
good,
20.
good stat to know.
statistic.
Yeah, good, really important
Right.
We
stat.
also
Yeah.
happen to be home to more than 25%.
For everyone.
For everyone. We also happen to be home to more than
Yeah.
25% of San Rafael's population. We also happen to be in a floodplain
Yes.
with limited traffic access, bounded by freeways on two sides.
Right.
And there's a lot of, it's kind of separated there, and there's a lot going on. And I think for a long time there's been kind of a gap between the business community and the residential community.
Absolutely, yes.
And through and say what you will about the shift to district elections for the council, whether that was a good or a bad thing, I'm not, I think that remains to be seen, but it's happening. And we got kind of active in that process. And I think the residential community was pleasantly surprised to see that the business community was interested in working together.
Yes.
And now we have an opportunity coming up with the election in 2020. It'll be the first time that East San Rafael will have a representative. On the council.
Why do you know that? Why do you know, not think? Why do you know that that's so important?
Well, I know it's important because diversity is important always. The San Rafael City Council has a 100-year history of being predominantly Caucasian. I believe we have an Asian man with an Irish last name.
Yep.
And that's about as close to non-white as we've gotten so far.
But a Yale degree.
Yes. I think the system is still perhaps not entirely set up to support someone from the canal who is an immigrant actually becoming a council person. Because, that person may have a lower socioeconomic status that may require a job that doesn't support getting to those meetings and being able to perform the duties of city council in addition to job, family, perhaps second job,
Yes.
childcare. So I think we still have a ways to go, but I think that it's still an opportunity, and those of us that are paying attention to it are looking at it as an opportunity and hopefully collaborating.
You are very smart and very wise and very emotionally intelligent, because that's the leadership we need now more than at any other time. Brain wise and heart smart. Brain wise and heart smart. Brain wise is that's so urgently needed. You see it when you see a person who's a leader who understands, doesn't overstand, understands. And then one of the kids, I thought this was great, Stephanie, goes, yeah, but Mr. P, don't you think we need understanding of ourselves and others? And I was like, whoa, dude.
Right.
I was still working on overstand, which I like, but
Yeah.
understanding is
Yeah,
good.
well, it's all tied up. And when you're teaching kids, they're teaching you more, right?
When you're raising them too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know that one.
My kid's going to be older than me in a couple of years because I'm still 5 and he's 3.
Well, I
got a
have
lot to teach me.
my grandson is Russian and Irish, and he already speaking 2 languages, calls me Opa, right? And I love the way he says it with such, even at 2.5, with such affection and respect. And that's everything that your family should feel about you. You have done marvelous and accumulatively wise things to teach America, not just our local community, but you're doing, this is, what you're talking about is important. And I'm going to ask you to do a TED Talk, and I think you should, because you have wisdom to teach, and you are a brilliant person to teach, not just brain, but heart, because we can accumulate wealth, but if we don't understand that at the end of the chess game, the pawn and the queen and the king go back in the same box, we've missed it all. And that's what, of course, that David Brooks is talking about, relationships, right? Relationships, right?
So we've got to wrap up. We're almost at that half-hour mark, if we're not at it already. But so your next big focus is East San Rafael project. Is there a name to it? Is there a committee? And you said there was a committee, but
it's called the East San Rafael Working Group.
Okay. Good.
We've been meeting more than 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the positive outcomes of that group thus far is the city of San Rafael is going through their general plan process. Every 20 years, the city updates the general plan.
Right.
We're working on the general plan 2040, and they usually have seats on the committee for different interest groups.
Right.
And the chamber has previously had one seat.
Right.
This time, they added a seat for East San Rafael for the first time.
Nice.
Good.
I'm
and is that the San Rafael
good.
chamber that is
So
hosting
the
this
San Rafael,
committee?
no,
or?
it's a city, and now I'm chairing that committee too.
Good.
So we're rewriting the general plan, updating it for 2040, and in that process, I think some planning and an eye toward what happens to East San Rafael, not only with an eye toward climate change, but also development, both for residential and commercial.
Yeah. What have you learned about leadership from all this that you could teach young women out there? Young women need role models.
Yes.
Fearless, unapologetic, determined, and filled with optimism. What do you teach them?
Well, speak your mind.
Why is that so important? It's so true. Why is that so
Well,
important?
I think we're conditioned in society, yes sir, no sir, thank you, please. Those are all good, but you got to speak up. I think the business world is taking a long time. I just listened to Melinda Gates. I was invited.
Brilliant.
She spoke at Dominican
Yes.
University, and
Yes.
she has a new book, The Moment of Lift. The whole premise is if we lift up women globally, we've lifted up
Exactly.
the globe.
Lift them, shift them, gift them.
And she talked about the number of women in Congress and how exciting that is. It's up to 25%.
Yes.
But she also said, if we continue at this pace, it'll take 63 years before there's gender parity in Congress. And so that's too long.
Tick, tick.
She referred
I'm
to
with you.
herself as an impatient optimist.
God, I love that.
I'd like to borrow that. I
yeah.
am not satisfied.
Good,
And I would like to
Impatient
continue to push for
Brilliant word.
more roles for women.
Yeah.
I think women are continuing to be seen in more leadership roles in their in business, in the home, in schools, and I think that's it should just be equitable.
Yeah.
What do you say to that young girl sitting in school who sometimes stays quiet and shouldn't? Because in her is the inherent wisdom of leadership, and she's taken second-class status just because she doesn't want to, hurt somebody emotionally. But deep inside her soul, as you came to it at Berkeley, and I know that's where they trained you to be that, and who you are. They gave you not just confidence, but optimism, love, strength, and wisdom. And you embody it, you imbue it in everything you do. What do you say to that little girl who's maybe teased or bullied or ridiculed?
It's hard to overcome the fear. I mean, the fear is real, but trying is empowering. I would just say try.
Yeah.
Speak up. There's really nothing to lose. And even if you sound silly or you make a mistake, we don't learn from doing it right. We learn from the mistakes.
I think we can be done.
Yeah,
I think this was almost
The two
incomprehensible.
things that were, like, one stands out for me. Favorite quote is, "Behind every good man is an even better woman."
Yes.
I
How
100%
about
believe
in front
in
of
that.
every good man?
Right?
Exactly
Well,
right,
yeah,
too.
I like that. I mean,
Well-
that's if we actually had women in
Or
front,
next
we'd
to
be
you.
doing
How about
much
side
better.
by side?
Well,
Yeah.
my
No, I
wife
love
has
that.
been, she's had her hand up my back is my, all my life. And here's what I learned from her. And I mean, this is true. I never make fun of my wife's choices. I was one of them.
Right?
Oh, that's a good one.
I like that too. Well, and lastly, is if someone wants to get involved in the East San Rafael project, how do they do it? Or how can they get...
Through the San Rafael Chamber, I think is the best way, sanrafaelchamber.org.
And do you have to be a member of the San Rafael Chamber to get
No,
involved?
not initially. I mean,
Okay.
we welcome anyone who's interested. And certainly the Giving Marin program is also available through the Marin Agency.
Yeah. Do one last plug for the Giving Marin. program.
GivingMarin.org.
Yes.
And if you have a nonprofit and you need advertising space, by all means, reach out to the IJ.
Right.
Liz St. John is coordinating those ads. They'll create an ad for your nonprofit, and one of us will sponsor it, and it'll run in the paper.
Yeah.
It's a really wonderful program.
When I think of leadership, I think of Sarah High School, where that kid Tom Brady, when I went down, I spoke at that school. But then there's this other guy who's a publisher. He's in the IJ. Kids there, and he went there. I can't remember his name, but you might know.
Rob?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for helping our community.
Rob.
Thank you for everything that you're doing for us. Leadership, leadership, leadership.
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 Comedian.
It's the best leadership we could all have, because if we laughed and loved and
there you go.
all joined together, there's nothing better than that.
And everybody dies, folks, but serious people are in a big hurry. You don't stop laughing because you grow old. You grow old because you stop laughing. Have fun.
Well, thank you again, Stephanie. We're glad to have you with us, and thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for joining us at We Are the Remedy, and we will see you next week, where we are working with Kristen Dunnett to Celebrate Life, which is a breast cancer foundation helping organizations with breast cancer missions in mind.
Right.
So thank you again, and go out there, smile, join the
Have a fun day.
parade of laughter, and
brilliant and awesome.
We'll see you soon.
Arrivederci, ciao bello.
Thank you.
Ciao bello.